Hi there guys, thanks for checking out my Dragonmeet 2019 video log. It was that time of the year again where we took a trip down to London to go demonstrate some games for Dragonmeet. I was obviously representing Lucky Duck Games and Final Frontier Games, and those two were the highlights of the con for me, by the way. We were obviously demonstrating there, representing the companies, showing off the games in the demo room, which was on the second or third floor. And we had a great time. So many people came over to try the games out with us, and we had a fantastic time meeting everyone. A lot of people I've seen from the previous years and from other cons, which was cool. Met some new people as well. Had a great time, really good time. Okay, so what you can see in the video is you're going to see some pictures of stuff I took, some of the things, the stalls and stuff that was there. Dragonmeet is actually a very different type of convention to the standard, board games conventions, because it has a lot more RPG focus, and with that in mind, that comes with a lot of other interesting things like sort of LARPing gear, sort of lots of paraphernalia like dice trays, dice towers, all sorts of things like that. So what I'm going to do in this video is you're just going to see the pictures and some interviews I did with, say, James Naylor. And then in another video, which I'll put up here in the show notes, or whatever this thing is called, the cards, I did a little walkthrough of the video of the downstairs trade hall and the upstairs second floor. But my voice was pretty croaky at that point, so I'm just going to overlay that with music. But at the end of that video, I'll do my thoughts and opinions on what I thought of Dragonmeet and what are coming up in the future. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Hey guys, we're here, we're all set up and ready to go. Carla, first time here?
It is.
So she's going to go have a little walk around and get us some coffee, and it's boiling in here already. But we've got our banner set up, we've got our table already set up over there with the games we're going to be demoing. And if you don't want to try ours, you can try out all the other guys' tables, all their demo tables over there. We've got Magnate, if I can turn the camera right, over there. And we're ready to go. You ready, Carla?
Yeah.
Let's do this. See you guys in a bit. We're doing some demos. See Mike B from Who Dares Rolls is playing Fistful of Meeples over there. We've got some people playing Jetpack Joyride, and it's nice and busy, as you can see over there. So I'm going to get back to it. See you guys in a bit. Hey there folks, I'm here at Dragonmeet 2009 and I'm sitting down with James Naylor from Naylor Games, whose game Magnate is on the Kickstarter right now of when I filmed this, which could be a little later after that. Never mind, I'll put a date down here. It's fine, don't worry about it. Okay, I'm going to switch this around and we're going to talk to him so you don't have to look at me anymore. Mr. Naylor, how the devil are you?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you very much.
So you're a little knackered like I am from a hard day of demoing Magnate?
Absolutely knackered.
In case people don't know what I'm talking about, this is Magnate, the first city, on Kickstarter right now, and you can see over there, already 240% funded. This is what it looks like, well, at least a prototype form. And now, James is going to talk to us about it. So how do you think it's doing, man?
Very well. I'm incredibly pleased with the result. To be honest, it's gone better than we could possibly reasonably expect, this campaign. It seems to really resonate with people. We've got a huge number of backers already. There's something like 483 people supporting us. And we've got a lot of other interest beyond that as well. And I think one of the things that I guess I feel most proud about is the kind of critical attention that we've got from some pretty big names who I personally read and really enjoy their work, who seem to really rate the game. Which is obviously a huge positive, and it's just wonderful, really. It's a project I've been working on for a long time. So the very, very first version was October 2011.
Wow.
And it was not quite like it is today. We've gone through a lot of changes. And then it was pretty much 18 months to 2 years ago, I decided, right, I actually want to make this into a published game. And I decided to take the Kickstarter self-published path, mostly because I really wanted to have a go at doing everything. The kind of board game business and making a successful publishing company is kind of really interesting to me. And I love all the aspects of the process around component design, how the thing should visually feel in the final end product, rather than just the game design element. Whereas I think some game designers like just the pure bit of game design. Yeah. For me, it's a lot more about the richness of the entire experience that a game creates, which includes physical components, like this, just as much as it's, in my view, about clever mechanics.
So you like making the games as opposed to just designing the games. I'm actually I think I'm the opposite. I quite like the idea of making a game. I get it about 60-70% done and I'm like, I'm quite happy with this now and I'll move on to the next one. That was something I was going to ask you now, but I can't believe you forgot because that made me think about something else. Oh, actually, I remember the first time I saw your game, which was almost a year ago today, which was last year Dragonmeet.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the original demo of it there.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing you regularly at conventions over the last year, plugging away, getting people to understand what you do about.
You've got to keep plugging away, right? I think this is the big thing, is that if you want to make a really successful game, have a successful Kickstarter, you can't expect people to sort of back you just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's really important that actually, you know that your game really works. And that's those conventions are critical for us to go from a really good game to a really good, well-balanced game. Because actually it's important that we're kind of tweaking and developing as we went. Also, the other thing is, it's about getting enough exposure and interest and enough validation that your overall product works. And so I think that's a really critical thing that people don't do necessarily. So that for us, it was just an obvious thing. We wanted to take it on that tour. And the best way to get people to back it is to have people play it.
Yeah.
So they know it's good already, right? So when they have the confidence to back in the game, not just like, that's a cool concept and it looks cool, but I remember enjoying that game. And I would say that's a big part of probably why we've been able to fund so quickly, even though I am, in strict terms, a first-time creator.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, the word of mouth is still one of the best ways of getting a game out there. And if people walk away from a positive experience, yes, I was saying about positive experience, that leads to so many more positive things as opposed to just putting it out there and hoping people get to backs with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's why that's critical. So that, as I said, word of mouth is still fundamental to the launch of any board game,
or any product for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, most products that would be completely true of, and I think particularly anything where it's like a consumer product, and particularly something that's like an entertainment product of some kind, then that I think is especially true.
Yeah.
And word of mouth is like more powerful than anything else in hobby board games, pretty much, like by a huge margin. And actually the way to do that is ultimately focusing on great product design, and that's what I hope we've done. I mean, that is my professional background. So, I say, obviously, technically a first-time board game creator, not a first-time product creator. And I think that I would say has been an advantage for me, is knowing a little bit about that before embarking on this journey.
Have you been a land investor though?
No. Well, I guess I did sell the M flat for a profit. So
you're covering all the bases on this.
It was a pretty good profit as well. So actually, maybe overall that makes me a land investor, or that may just make me someone who was kind of lucky in London at the right time. Maybe more than a clever investor. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is, to be completely honest. So yes, that's the extent of my land development experience. I've certainly never in my life constructed an office building, or for that matter, and especially not a really big office building like that. That isn't something I've done, and dare I say, even more deluxe one like that. I mean, look at that! Isn't that wonderful?
That looks really great. I wonder where you got that from.
I wonder where I got that one from. Who could have painted that?
The other thing, what's been one of the highlights over the last 2 years about developing this game and working through the industry and meeting people? What's been one of the highlights for you?
Oh my God, that's such a tough question. There are so many highlights. I think that's part of the problem. I mean, every time we take it to a convention and you see someone's face light up playing it, and they're sort of lost in thought, going, oh, but if I could do this, but then if I do that, oh, but then if I do this. And those moments, I think if I were to pick something, that happens a lot, but it is something that still gives me so much joy to see, more than anything else, because that's fundamentally the real pleasure of playing any kind of strategic game.
Yeah.
It's of those moments, and that's what really you're engineering ultimately, more than anything else. So it's those bits, I think, are the most really cool.
The hobby industry is also a really cool hobby to be in, because the people around it are so good, always really helpful, and
yeah. There's loads of really great people, so they're hugely helpful. And something else I would say about it as well is that it's also one that's growing pretty quickly as well. I mean, and actually the numbers back that up. But it means that you really feel like you're on a frontier. It feels like there's a lot of innovation going on at there. And so it's quite exciting to be there and to see people trying out some crazy new ideas, some people trying completely new kinds of game. And it feels like there's a lot of open space to explore in a way that in a more corporate space you probably wouldn't get. So I think that's one thing that's also really cool about this industry.
How did you feel as a new creator, like a new board game designer and publisher? Did you feel daunted coming into an industry where there's a lot of set big boys? And with Kickstarter also changing. I mean, it's changed over the last year or two, where before anything would fund, like 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, just about anything would fund on Kickstarter. Now it's a lot harder. You need to bring an audience. You need to have all those reviews and previews out there. You need to know so many people. Did you feel daunted by that?
You know what? Actually, no. And the reason I don't feel daunted by it is because, to some extent, the space I come from software, was kind of already like that. I think in online advertising, which is my background, there was a huge, obviously you've got Facebook, Google, you've got these giant companies that have frighteningly massive budgets. And that means sometimes the minimum standard of what you do has to be already excellent. And I feel in a funny kind of way, it's strangely fortunate to be on Kickstarter this time, because you have to be good to do it, right? Yeah. And so that's actually forcing you to be better. And so in a funny way, I actually think, although it's been incredibly tough, and I've had to learn so much, because there's so much to learn, I'd rather have that challenge in some way, rather than it be kind of an easier ride, strangely, if that makes any sense. And I actually think the nice thing is this industry hasn't consolidated too much, so actually there's so many new players, there are new players just cropping up all the time, and that's just a really cool space to be in.
If there was one thing you could change over the last 2 years about the development of Magnates, what would it be?
Oh my God, that is another incredibly tough question. I think, in terms of developing the product, what particular things would I change? I think that the biggest thing I would have done would have been to get an earlier version to more people more quickly.
Okay.
I think we did that anyway, and we to obviously get it to the point of Kickstarter. It had to already be pretty good and pretty stable by that point. But actually, I think that journey could have begun earlier. And ultimately, that prototype sat in my basically drawer for 5.5 years. And I think I could have actually got it out of that drawer much more quickly than that and got it into more people's hands. And it's the same thing I'd give to any designer. Like that phrase that is often used, this cannot be more true. which is get it to the table.
Yeah.
And I think that the sooner and faster you can get something to the table, the better. And there's always a fine balance, because if you do something that's too raw, it's not going to tell you much. But actually, people are rarely at a risk of going when it's too raw. They're much more likely to do the opposite, of playing a game long after the point at which they could already have been usefully getting feedback and understanding how players would react. So that's still the major thing. Even I would say, even for me, with all of the 18 months we spent taking on a playtest tour, even then I would say get it to table early.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thank you very much, James. I appreciate you talking to me on this.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed chatting with you. It's been really great seeing how this has developed over the years, and it is now actually going to be a product.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. There's no going back now, my friend.
Shipping to somewhere near you in 2020.
See you later, buddy.
Same amount of tired.
I am not tired. We just finished packing up. We're ready to go home. Did you have a good time, Bex?
It was very nice. I enjoyed it.
Did a lot of demos today.
Yeah?
What would you think was the most demos you did of? Fistful of Meeples? Jetpack Joyride? Chronicles
Fistful
of
of
Crime?
Meeples.
Yeah, that was very popular today.
Jetpack Joyride as well. Quite a few of those. Actually, it's tied between the two, because I kind of moved from one table to the other, to the one table to the other.
Yeah.
So all day.
Well, thanks for everyone. If you're seeing this video later, who came by and tried out the games with us, thanks for coming by. Really had a good time. Meeting all of you guys was awesome, and we hope to see you guys next year. We're off to go get some food because Carla says she's hungry. If she doesn't get food, her dragon's coming out.
That's what happens when you don't feed him.